I've chosen to try doing this Battle of the Atlantic scenario. I wasn't planning on doing it, but when I looked at it, it looked like something different from what I expected. I expected it to be a combination of the strategic warfare and the naval operations in the North Atlantic, and it turns out it's not. It doesn't even use the map. Okay, that's interesting. So I have a number of issues with trying to set this up. First of all, it doesn't set up what rules you need the way, for example, North Africa scenario did. Somewhere it kind of states, hey, you need all the naval rules. Well, obviously that's not the case if you don't need a map, right? And a number of other things. There also aren't any special rules to deal with the fact that it doesn't have a map, and that the interceptions aren't going to happen. Then beyond that, okay, I decided to tear out my little sheets for this because, maybe I'll photocopy some of them, but I'm not going to do everything. And so, yeah, this had a few pieces. So the first problem it has is it has the Battle of Atlantic force deployment, which is fine. It has some other crap on the back of it that has nothing to do with it. Great. The scenario victory tracking sheet, you're going to want to photocopy this to write on it probably anyway, and then this thing probably the same thing, but I want it separate so that it's easy to find, I guess. Figure if I start tearing out some of them, I might as well tear out all. But here's the big problem. The Atlantic Shipyard and Research Chart. So this is something where basically you're going to set up your ships as they're being built on the ports, and this is something I've brought up before. And the Battle of Atlantic German Shipyard and Research Sheet are on opposite sides of each other. So I had to pull out the Global War Campaign Game ones for these. Now, as an example, because each of these has this issue, the United States-Europe Global War Campaign Game Sheet is on the back of the France Global War Campaign Game Sheet. Hey, that might be okay because France may have surrendered by the time, but some of the others are not. So if you're playing the Global War game, the sheets that they give are back printed on the same side as other sheets you need for the same scenario. And this was just a horrible design decision. I understand that they wanted to make some somewhat thinner sheets. I understand that they wanted to put them together in a book. Now, the possible solution to this is actually, and I'm not sure if this is intended, over here in Gathering Storm, they give you a whole new pile of these sheets. They're different, but it looks like we've got, like the Global War Campaign game, we've got the shipping thing. On the other hand, they've got the same problem where they backprint them, but hopefully you have a full set. Now, the problem with this, of course, is this is not a perforated set of kind of cardstock. This is thin, glossy rulebook paper of these days, and thus is absolutely unuseful unless you're going to photocopy anyway. I guess you could cut it out, but then you have sheets of really, really thin paper that'll fly around. I'm starting to sort the counters. Well, not starting. I have many of them sorted, but I'm starting to sort the U.S. counters, and the stacks are getting kind of big, and you can see they're turning into real messes. Okay, why is that? Is that particularly a problem? I've been noticing this all along. Tweezers picking up any stack of a couple of counters, fingers picking up any stack of a couple of counters, trying to stack counters. The gloss on gloss with really thin counters, man, they just fly all over the place. And of course, it's a glossy map too. So luckily the game doesn't have big stacks other than naval stacks. But any attempt to sort these counters and try to deal with them is a much, much bigger nightmare than it was in the old Third Reich Rising Sun, where they had the old style Avalon Hill counters, which I may not favor particularly, but they sure are better than thin double glossies. And there's no real need for the glossies. It's not like World in Flames where, there's pretty artwork on them. These are just glossy to make the counters slip around easier and, not stay in stacks. The biggest problem I have, though, is I can't figure out what the rules to this scenario are. I really can't. There's no indication of rules I use, and no special rules to handle the fact that there's no map. I'm going to give this a shot because I do think it's kind of interesting, but it just shows that, man, they really, second edition of this game, and they still are putting out a pretty slipshod effort, as far as I'm concerned, in so many ways. Some of them are cost-cutting ways. Others are kind of like, well, wait, you couldn't tell me that you handed this to new players who have never played the system, and they worked through the initial scenarios trying to figure out how to play, and maybe hit on this one because, you go through the order. I mean, the first thing you're faced with is the Grand Campaign, which is like, yeah, that's interesting, but I think I'd like to look at a little bit more. Barbarossa wasn't too bad. It was really set up as a good introduction to the land system. Unfortunately for me, the land system is the thing I understand the most, right? North Africa, well, that's going to be another land game for the most part. There may be some naval operations in it. Maybe. Doesn't really look like it. Actually, less Navy than in the others, perhaps, or in Barbarossa. So, I can forego that. I got to see the land combat as much as I wanted to. You don't buy a game like this to play the North Africa campaign on a small map. I'm telling you, you're playing North Africa or Barbarossa in this game. Why not get something, because of the scale of the game, why not get something that's just a little bit cheaper and more designed to handle that campaign, like the No Retreat series over here. If that's what you want to look into, those are the types of games you want to look at it for. You don't buy a World at War or World in Flames to play these scenarios. These scenarios are just there to get you familiar with the system. So that's, and the scenario book basically says that, these are cool scenarios, but once you play them, you probably will never see them again once you play the big campaign game. So don't jump in the big campaign game at first, because you'll miss out on some of the fun or something. Getting some nice lightning going on out there. But, to not make these usable, and the next thing we go to is these C ones, and they don't seem to help you either, although I think at least they probably use the actual game rules, and maybe most of them. It's just, wow, this is becoming a nightmare to set up, and I may not be able to actually get this one played because I can't figure out much about it. I'm hoping that once I look at wherever the victory points for this one are, the victory tracking sheet, I might start to understand more about it. But most of it's going to be fought. So here's the Atlantic SW box, and apparently you can move from the port to these without dealing with, the issues of interception that you would normally deal with on the map. And I thought, well, that would be interesting to take a look at the strategic warfare rules in their own little scenario. It's not going to take care of the bombing, but if there aren't rules to handle how you're going to move these, I guess I make them up as I go. Probably just whatever sort of the normal transfer is going to be, which I think is just I'm going to be able to throw things into the strategic warfare box, essentially. In the base game, you'll be seeing, or in the real game, you'll be seeing opportunities to intercept during those. Those can't be available if you don't have a map, I guess, and you don't have rules for it. Just very, very weird. Possibly annoying factor. I wanted to check this because, so this is Gathering Storm's counter thickness, and these are their kind of normal counters. This is not, GMT makes thicker than this, but this is their normal thin size counter. Let me see if I can compare these directly. You can see there's a significant difference, and I'd say it's about 50% thicker, and that's going to be another factor. And they did this with when they made what the hell was it? Space Empire's 4X, which I got kicking around somewhere up here. I don't know where. It's not jumping out at me. Oh, there it is. They made a second edition of that with thicker counters, and when they made the expansion to it, the expansion had thicker counters. So they ended up releasing all the thicker counters with it. Well, no such luck with something like this, I'm sure. You know, but it's funny because I don't know too many people who are going to buy Gathering Storm without a World at War. Now, with this counter, it probably doesn't matter. This is a diplomatic counter to be used just on that map. But there are additional force units in the game as well, and they're thicker as well. So you're going to have, you know, combat units that are of different thickness. I don't know how big a deal that is. The thin ones are the real big deal, period, the end. But I just wanted to show that, you know, if you're counting on getting components that operate together in the game, they're not quite 2-to-1. Nowhere near, actually. Let's see. But there is a significant little lessening, and they definitely cause an issue being this thin. I'm having more trouble than usual dealing with any size stack of counters. They just squirt out. The positive side, that'll make it easier to tell which of the two games it's from, because conceivably you'd be mixing those combat counters into your situation here. That might be easy enough in a lot of cases, like Austria. Austrian counters aren't going to be from a World at War, obviously, but there are also some additional build counters that are available that, you know, can be added to the force pool through research, early research and stuff like that. So it's kind of nice to be able to get the games back where they belong, I guess. And it would be pretty easy to tell. There's a definite tactile difference between the thickness of the counters. Looking at the Battle of the Atlantic, I guess the only thing to go for is to work my way through the sequence of play and try to figure out, hey, does this apply, does this not? Because there is really no rules to cover it. Now, it says some things here about research and production. I can invest RPs. I don't know. Looks like I have some already invested. So on each side of this, and these markings, I don't know what they are, if they're asterisks. Let's see. It looks like they're an asterisk, yeah. I couldn't tell if they were asterisks or little bits of printing error. So I'll have to pay attention to that. But we have points that are available as RPs and points that are assigned. And I guess what's going on here is I have 4 points. I don't know what the 4 parentheses 3 is meant to say. Here we go. The number of RPs available, the maximum number which can be allocated to any one project. However, I believe that the numbers here are also limitations. Historical RP allocations are in gray for reference. Players can allocate them as they wish. Okay. I thought these were the limitations that were upon us because in some cases the numbers didn't add up, I think. Maybe I'm mistaken. Okay. So it looks like those RPs are assigned at the beginning of the game. As though there was a YSS in place. So I'm going to have to try to figure out the research rules and whether or not I want to put things into the locations listed. So here I have 3, but I can put all 3 into either Naval or Nationality DRM. Naval, I guess, is Naval General. And we have some other reliance here, so try to find where that information is. It may all just be in separate sections in the rulebook as to each technology. It seems some of the rules in the research section don't apply. For example, there's a restriction on your RP allocation where you can put no more than half of your alliance factions RPs in any single category. That would have to be lifted since, say, with the Germans, they only have one category, which is their naval set here. Not sure if these, maybe advanced subs is its own category rather than naval. But either way, I don't have any of that available. I'm not quite sure what this 1 and 2 are here. We got a 1 ... and there's no indication of what that may mean. Maybe those are asterisks. No, these are the asterisks here, I think. But we got a German may only produce 1 SBP shipbuilding point, I guess, per turn. The 2 asterisks says 3 RPs in submarine production, but the 3rd submarine is on the map board. That might be this. Maybe there's supposed to be 2 stars somewhere. There's just no way to tell. I don't see anything on here that has two asterisk marks on it. Yet this, whatever this is, those look like they might be asterisks. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get it into a focus. I mean, they just look like dots when I look at them, so I don't know. Maybe if I look without my glasses. Real close. Yeah, those are not asterisks. Oh, wait, but I see the 2. The 2's in this pale gray here. But who knows? Anyway, like I said, obviously we have to kind of figure out and make up which rules we apply and which we don't. That's not covered in the scenario, I don't believe. I don't think there's anything that detailed in here. Research and production. We have this discussion of maximum numbers in a single project. But some other rules apply, like the number of successes you've already had. So, you know, it's kind of like make up which rules you want to use and which ones you don't, because the scenario does not give it to you. There seems to, I'm assuming this is just a typo, that this is supposed to be column O here or something, but victory is determined by the total amount by which the Allied losses exceed the Axis cost of conducting the warfare. So this is going to be some kind of weird payout here. Now, I don't know how things like oil short losses, that's not something from the game that I'm aware of. So I have no idea how those are to be calculated, but and then this is going to be column Q on the victory tracking chart. That's the total. Well, Q is out here, apparently just missing. It's probably the cumulative total plus whatever bonus points you get for which turn the game ends. Now, the game will end. I mean, this is just, somebody did a quarter of a scenario in terms of figuring out what needed to be given here. Oh, there's oil shortage. So every oil counter fewer than 5 that's shipped across the Atlantic. Okay. So the explanation for this is given on the sheet rather than here. That's very Avalon Hill to not give all the information on in the roll book or scenarios. So you can kind of judge that. I don't know how this sheet is used. I think it's going to keep track of how many forces you have each turn, and there's not going to be a production before the fall turn, which is why everything's numerically laid out here. I'm still trying to look at these. So here they suggest the Germans historically have 2 naval and they have a nationality DRM. If they want to pick that up, they have a -2 to that die roll, which is, because my zoom doesn't work, because Germany's DRM starts at 2. Okay. Well, I don't have that tracked anywhere yet, but sure. I'm sure that's in the core starting DRMs on a card somewhere. And then, let's see, over here on the Allied side, we also have that. The Allied DRM starts at 2. Obviously, I don't know what those charts are yet, though. I started reaching my way towards these, and then when I started seeing problems, I went away for a couple hours because, when I face disappointment in a game, and I think this scenario is going to have me, take a week to get through what should be maybe an hour-long scenario, just because it's so fucking poorly presented. On the bright side, my Gathering Storm component screw-up, which apparently is incredibly common, has been fixed already. GMT is very good at fixing things like that. And surprisingly, they've actually gotten to the point where in some cases they're willing to fix broken games that they put out. I think this game would have qualified, and certainly Gathering Storm qualifies, but these aren't, as popular as the ones they have issued fixes for. I'm trying to think what the recent ones were. Supreme Commander, obviously, another World War II, but probably with a bigger population looking towards it. And then One by the Sword, they're supposed to be doing a rewrite of the rules. Gathering Storm needs one. That rule book is not comprehensible, but we'll wade through it because apparently, unlike One by the Sword, there isn't a big enough outcry. People just say, well, it sucks, don't buy it, So much from the rules. I was looking in here and I'm like, well, this doesn't really explain much, but then I forgot. Yeah, there's a whole booklet on research and diplomacy. But before I get to that, that's not the rules on it. This is going to be the charts, which I thought were embedded in the rules for some reason. Because in the old Empire of the Rising Sun, the diplomacy and research rules were in a separate book, which works fine. It decreases you from having something like this, which is going to fall apart. An overly large rule book. They segmented the rules and didn't bloat them as much as the current set was. But what I'm looking at here, and again, I'm trying to figure this scenario out based on the player aids and the materials because there's no good description of it. The numbers that are presented here are research results that have already been gotten. Now this is the code section. This is where you'd write the code name of each research result. I don't know how much I want to deal with the code names, but when you're actually playing the game, whenever you give an opposed fashion, whenever you start a research result, you give it a code name. And then whenever you make a roll against that research result, you declare the code name. And then, without declaring the code name, you announce, at some point or another, that you used something from a research result. Like in an extreme event, well, you drop an atomic bomb or something. But in a somewhat easier sense, maybe you'll show that, maybe it's obvious that you have more submarines than you had at the beginning. Well, that means that one of your research results that you've been announcing has been the submarine production one. It should be down here. Well, that result says, when a player knows the name of that and hears it a number of times, they know you're focusing on that, whatever it is. Now, you can only hit each one of these research attempts once per year, so it's going to be hard to remember many of them, especially if somebody starts getting clever with their code name, and instead of naming them things that, like rattlesnake, cobra, they name it Alpha 1, Alpha 001, Alpha 010, so players can make the code names really impossible for their opponent to catch. Now, over here in the research chart, so somewhere there should be general naval research. There's general research, which is going to work for all the general researchers. So a die roll result of a certain amount gives me a plus the next time I try to do it. If I get a successful breakthrough, that I think is going to give me a +1 on all the research results of that category. So in 39, putting some points into the naval research may make sense because my other option is the naval nationality. And for this, I get minus the naval nationality DRM, that's where that -2 comes from, and both sides have that actually. But unfortunately, it doesn't say anything about the general research here. It probably should. That should be repeated there if I'm right about what it is. They say they give a modifier. Yeah, it's a +1 modifier to research on anything else in that section. So, seeing that I'm probably not too interested in the naval nationality DRM, I am indeed going to do for the Germans the 2 points towards the naval general research. Now for the Brits, they've got 3 points. They've got them split into 2 and 1. The naval nationality DRM, I'm probably not going to be able to get much advantage off of. I might get a carryover bonus to the next year by rolling on that, and it's fairly likely I'll get a good one. How important is that? I don't think that's that important. Whereas the general research roll, a +3 gives me some fair chance of a breakthrough. So I'm going to put my 3 into there. Now, like I said, you can only activate each of these. You can only activate 1 per category, and naval, which everything in this game is 1 category per turn. And you can only activate categories where you have at least a point in it, which is a reason that putting a point into DRM might make sense, because I think the Allies do need DRM points. So I'll split it and I'll do what they historically did, the 2-1. That'll allow me to make 2 different rolls in the turn. I'm going to have 2 different turns, so that, or 2 different rolls in the year. I have 2 different turns, so that seems okay. So I think that's most of the setup, but not quite, because there's ultra cards, and it says here each player receives an additional ultra card. So I'm going to have to look up the rules on those and try to see what those affect. This is how this whole scenario is going to progress. It's going to be me saying, oh, wait a minute, here's something that somewhere seems to apply to it. I better figure out what the rules are. I can't know the rules in advance. And in part, I have to withdraw some of the rules from the rule book. Could I look up everything that might possibly pertain to it? Yeah, I guess. But I think I'll explain those rules later when I do the general war introduction to the game. This is me trying to tackle something that I don't feel like I understand terribly well, which is the strategic warfare component and the technology component of the game, and see how, whether I can learn anything that way. Unfortunately, I left my book open so that I could go open up the ultra cards along with, there's a whole bunch of stuff in there, and it popped closed, so I lost where I was. Again, the wonder of this type of design. It's not like you can't make a book like this lie flat, but doing so breaks that binding. So now I have to try to figure out where it was again. Here we go. And this time, gosh, I don't know what to use to hold it in place. I don't have an extra hand. But anyway, what's going to happen is I lean my hand down and put this where I can hold this thing. God. Initially, we start with a certain number of ultra cards. So the European Axis is going to get a submarine one, a tactical, a strategic, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blanks. And then this is I guess a wild card. I don't know why this says additional card and the others don't. But there's not supposed to be a wild card here, so I don't know. Anyway, they can gain additional ultra apparently through the diplomacy book. Let's grab this without throwing all the counters all over the place. Now, they're not going to have this here. Code breaking is a research project, I think under intelligence. Oh, maybe not. Or something else. Oh, here, code breaking. So intelligence is a code breaking, but I don't see a chart for it, which is weird. These results, oh, these are production projects. Okay, so you do this under the production roles to gain new additional things, and that's something we don't have. But anyway, you're able to get additional cards. I'm not sure how you choose which ones. That's not really... The Western Allies may achieve one result of each type each year. That's Ultra and Magic. Now, somewhere or another, it says we're going to get additional Ultra cards. See, that's what happened. Okay, well, fuck that. Somewhere it says we're going to get additional Ultra. So we get an additional Ultra card of our choice in 41 and another one in 43. I don't know if that includes this magical I can do anything card, which may or may not be that, because strangely that says additional card. Maybe that's meant to be one as a replacement card if you lose one. I'll have to look that up again under the Ultra rules, which is where we were, so maybe it says something there. But unfortunately, see, all this flipping of my rule book is causing my... I have no idea where those are set up anymore. Yeah, I really want to burn this thing. Okay, so types of cards. There are 6 types of Ultra and Magic cards. There's a wild card, but the wild card says American Magic only. So the only thing that I can guess is that this is some kind of extra card, that one that I saw. So anyway, what's going to happen with the Ultra is at the beginning of the turn, each side is going to shuffle their deck, and the Allies have another similar but slightly different constructed deck. You can see they get an ASW instead of a submarine, tactical strategic, and a blank, a bunch of blanks. Each side is going to get a set of 4 cards, and they can use them. So they have half their initial deck, but more than half that deck is made up of blanks. So it's quite possible you could draw a handful of useless stuff. Those are going to give you modifiers on various tables. Submarine warfare, obviously, is going to cause more damage, however the subs do their damage. Strategic, I would assume that affects the strategic warfare box, so I don't know. So let's see. Submarine warfare increases the effectiveness of submarine warfare in the strategic warfare box, or also onboard sub-attacks, which we don't worry about. ASW, which only the Allies get, this decreases the effectiveness of the submarine warfare, and they essentially cancel each other out if I recall. Tactical changes the search chances, or increases, or maybe increases the DRM for fleet combat and 1 naval combat round, or for 1 onboard submarine attack, or modifies 1 harbor attack. I would guess it's one of those options because everything's connected by or except for the effect search chances for naval combat. I can't imagine you'd use it for both, but that might be hidden somewhere in here. I wouldn't put that beyond them. Strategic permits an additional die roll for naval interception. Changes radar die rolls. Automatic interception of offensive missions in the Pacific. And it can also be played with on the tension levels. The wild card can be used as any other magic card. Well, that one looks a lot like a wild card, but I think the fact that it says additional card means, hey, you know, use this for whatever you're missing a card for. One nice thing, GMT is very kind to Consim World Expo, and they gave us a couple of extra decks. There were extra decks of cards available. They do this regularly for games. I usually pass on it. I wasn't sure that these might not be useful in larger numbers. Basically, it's turning out I just have some extra decks, which I probably don't need. The original Advanced Third Reich had this system. I know the magazine that they put out for it was Ultra, I don't know if there were ultra rules, but there were magic rules for it, which were similar to this, that just used a chit pull situation where you had a set of chits. I think that worked just fine for the, you know, I mean, if there's this much information on a card, do you really need a card? But I can go with either one. Anyway, that's what's going to happen there. I'll be shuffling those and dealing out cards. And later, when additional cards get added, that's going to mean that they get added to the general pool that you draw from. So you get to add one more result you like. So for example, the Axis may well want to add another submarine card to their deck to improve their efficiency with that. I'm not sure there's anything else they like as much. Tactical sounds pretty iffy. Strategic might be cool if they have raiders still out at that point. Chances are, though, that their raiders are going to be hunted down. Their raiders are only allowed to raid in fall of 39, and then they go into hiding and come back out in like winter of 40 or something like that. I'm sure that limitation isn't present in the full game, but I don't know how it's handled, so we'll see. Strangely here, we have this accelerated naval construction. Players may accelerate construction of naval units. And there's a rule for that. BRP spent on accelerating are recorded on the victory. Oh, okay. So I was thinking, I got no BRP generation in this scenario, and certainly I can't be throwing all of any nation's BRP economic power into the naval program. There has to be some limitation on it. Well, the limitation is, what's this? Wherever the victory point, oh crap, I put that over here. Whatever the victory point card is, and I get to do something a lot more fun than this crap. The Germans, the Allies, start off with some transports and an ASW out in the SW box. Looking through the movement phase, I'm not going to be, well, looking at specifics, I'm not going to be able to raid in fall of 39 with anything other than my pocket battleships. So that's all I've got that I can put out there to raid. I maybe could send other ships, but that's just a way to get them killed. I think that's intended for a Bismarck type scenario. We have the Scharnhorst and the Gneisenau as well to break out. However, when I look at the movement phase, the Allies, I think, can put their entire fleet out into the Atlantic SW box, and there's no real restriction against that. There's not going to be any interception allowed. Normally you'd be allowed to intercept here. That's actually specifically disallowed. I found that in these rules. So the Germans go first, and let's get to their combat phase, where somewhere in here we have Raiders and SW combat. That's J. Unfortunately, I don't have a line to go into that in the rules, so I'll look that up and try to figure out how that's going to work. Again, you know, this is something normally I would have explained in the main rules, but I wanted to give it a playthrough, see how it works. It doesn't look like a terribly interesting scenario as anything but a learning scenario, but as a learning scenario, the support for it sucks completely. Rather than read through the rules, hey, we got a chart. Excellent. Okay. So the general modifiers, there's a -3 to the raider table. Raiding actually happens before SW, I think. I don't know. Dealing with this big a sequence of play on something this size is painful too. But each additional raider group. So I got to decide if I want to split my raiders up into different groups or run as one, and I don't know. But given that there's no real enemy ships out here, I think I want to split them up. So that'll get me, this is going to be for each group. Okay, so I have a -3 plus 2, that gets me up to a -1. There's no Defender air range research results, I think. Can't be sure. The Axis get 1. The Allies get 1 in 40 and a second in 43, and I don't think there were any assigned to begin with, so yeah. Try to remember all these different things as we come through it. US isn't at war, there's no CVEs. We don't worry about these. Ultra code breaking advantage. I don't know what kind of code breaking that is. I think it's tactical, but it may be strategic, so I'm going to have to go look that up. So this chart has to do with whether or not the enemy catches you raiding. And I'm split up. That makes it much easier to be caught. Now, but there is no defensive forces out there, so I get to go to the naval combat table. Somewhere in here. There we go. And I guess the transports don't have any defensive value, I guess. So I'm AS, which is attacking ships, I suppose. I have 2 factors for each of these. I'll be rolling a pair of dice. The naval DRMs are even. Do we get surprised? Gosh, I don't know. Alright. So, I mean, we're just trying to shoot up their ship, their transports, but maybe we get surprised, maybe we don't. I don't know. Here in the naval combat rules, it says something about once naval forces are engaged. I don't so far see anything about fighting in raiding here. Of course, oh, here we go. Naval combat involving raiders in an SW box is resolved without the need for combat group search and possible surprise. Single round of fleet combat. And I guess we're just shooting the transports as a whole value. We can't shoot up the ASW, I suppose. This is just guesstimate. You know, I don't feel like rereading the whole naval rules to myself to try to figure out, to try to find out a singular element. I may find that I'm doing this completely wrong. But basically, I'm going to be rolling 2 dice. Our DRMs are the same, nationality-wise, and we'll see if I hit. Now, if I had added up all my forces to 6, I would average about 4 hits. In groups of 2, it looks like I'm going to average less, maybe 3 hits. So maybe I want to combine these together. So yeah, I'm going to combine them together as a group of 6. And I roll a 9. Now, that's going to actually hit 5 of these. If I had done it in 3 groups, 9 would hit 2, 3, and I've gotten a 4. I would have gotten 4. So instead I got, what did I say, 6? No, 5 of these. And there are 10 here. So now I play with the transports and move that. Now, over here on the battle tracking sheet, I've got all kinds of pieces of information. So we'll see. And this is the sheet that comes with the game that I tore out rather than photocopying because, okay, so total result AB, is that what I want? The value of AB, okay, so far we're at 5 transports. This looks like A divided by B. That can't be taken from the total column of the previous table. I got no idea what that is. That's not explained. I mean, this chart, unlike some of these, this chart does not have an explanation over here that I'm aware of. This is the best explanation there is in existence for whatever is covered in this game. So starting SW, I had 20. Total result A divided by B. The number of transports which survive excluding damaged inverted transports. Damaged? How did I damage them? Well, let's see results. Results against... Well, results don't work against transports here. These only work against regular... Oh no, they affect transports. So each hit sinks one of them. So I don't know how they get damaged, but maybe we'll see a way. So I don't know what this A divided by B is, but we're just going to write a 5 in here for that. Although maybe the subs sink some. Surviving Atlantic. Okay, so now we're going to have to go to the sub attack, I guess. And we'll see if we can find that somewhere. We had some strategic war tables. Now, maybe we need to do more here, but it doesn't look like it. Oh, we forgot to see if ultra cards affect this die roll. They certainly do, and I don't know what we have, nor which cards. That's in the ultra roll. I didn't see it in the Raiders roll, so we'll be back. According to the ultra rules, it affects a round of naval combat. The Germans have the advantage here. They'll play theirs. These are use them or lose them. You get a new deck each turn, so or a new hand each turn. So unless I run into another case where I might want it. Now, effects isn't really clear here. Nor was it described well enough, and I don't feel like trying to flip through and make sure. So we were at 6, we had a 9, that was 5. Let's say it's a +1. That's the probable effect to the die roll. So that wouldn't actually affect the losses there. But again, now I have to go back and figure out what's up with the subs. The only part of the active strategic warfare, flip up the ultra cards, actually they cancel each other out here. We're going to be looking at the strategic warfare combat table. Now, it's resolved differently depending on the type of strategic warfare, I guess. But for this, we look at these. We don't worry about air range, I don't think. I don't know. Yeah, this is the submarine. We do worry about it. So we got to worry about air range research levels. So were there any of those? Well, carefully move this heavy book over here, which we've left that in place with, and look up over here. Okay, I don't think they start with one. It's hard to tell. I'm not going to look at the Global War starting rules to see if they do. So that's not going to be in play. No torpedo research levels yet. No CVEs. Okay. We control one of these, so we get a +2. I think this is on the die roll. We don't control Spanish stuff. Germany and the US are at war. First turn gives a bonus, second turn does not. But here Germany and US are at war, gives a +1. That seems a little odd. That leads me to say, why am I worried? Because we get a +1 and another +2. Oh no, there's always a +1, but it's +3. Okay. Ireland is not going to be in play. We check the ultra difference. And so we're going to roll. Now there's one strategic warfare factor. And then we'll haul that book over and try to interpret the results. So our roll is a 5, and that's a 0. So no results get interpreted there. But I think there's damage to the subs, which has nothing to do with this. I know there used to be a canceling out or something like that. So the hits are transports eliminated, and then ASW and CWEs, and then the second is the SW result as the number of transports that are damaged. And I think there are further results like BRP results, but those aren't directly referred to here, so maybe they show somewhere else. Didn't we just have that SW combat modifiers? Yeah, see, now that's reprinted over here. This is why this rule book is so thick. Reprint the same chart. Come on, man. So I thought subs got damaged in ASW, and I'm not seeing any result that says that. In the old game they did, so I'm going to have to start reading this whole section to see if that's the case. Because it seems very strange to me, but maybe both sides get to roll somehow. I don't know. Maybe there's something major I'm missing. This is really weird because the way I'm seeing it, and I mean, ASW, here we go. Use of ASW. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about them getting an attack. Now, over here, SW combat, it's resolved during the combat phase of the side employing the offensive against its opponent. Prior to the resolution, the moving player may employ raiders and assign eligible AAF. Submarine warfare involves submarines in ASW, C-25. Now, nowhere else in here is there any indication... Oh, wait. Okay, so there's a defender's result. Numbers before the slash is the okay. So the ASW, nowhere does it tell you that the ASW gets its own separate role, and the same things with the interceptors. In the original Third Reich, ASW canceled out subs. They just killed them off. I don't remember if it happened. I think it happened after you did your damage, but I'm not positive of that. In Advanced Third Reich, I remember this being clearer, that the ASW got a roll. That's not really expressed here anywhere that I saw, but that's what I remember, so we're going to get a roll back. Now, what's weird here is the modifiers, the way they say, let's see, a positive modifier for SW combat for one side results in an equal negative modifier for the other side. So, I don't think we had any die roll modifier in the end, though. So let's just roll and see if the ASW kills a sub. And it rolls a 6, which is also going to be a 0. There's only one ASW there. So, that's that. And yeah, I mean, I'm spending a whole day on getting this result, but once I get into the flow of playing this, like I said, I think this scenario is going to take about an hour. If it weren't for trying to figure out the rules to it, which is why I'm playing it, it would be a very, very short and uninteresting little exercise. Now, there's nothing else that happens in combat, so we're jumping down to unit construction. I think I'm allowed to stay out in the SW box for the game, so there's no real reason to come back. The raiders may have to come back. I'll have to check on that. If they do, that would be, there's some kind of return to base in this game. Isn't there? Post-combat. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. It'll be the redeployment when they'd have to do it, but I don't think it's the case because you can redeploy into the SW box, so it wouldn't make a lot of sense to redeploy out. But again, like I said, the raiders may have to get out. So now during the production phase, here's what's kind of interesting. The Germans are going to be able to build another U-boat. And I don't know why there's a US ASW being built this turn, because that's not usable until winter. Why not just say the US gets that one then? I don't know. But we're going to be building that. The question is whether or not anything else is happening. Now, there's one other thing that happens here, which is the research. I'm fatigued from rolling these couple of dice. I mean, seriously, the amount of effort made into trying to figure out the pattern for this has been so heavy, and there's no payoff in this scenario. You know, trying to figure out how ASW works in the grand campaign would make sense, but now at least I have some idea, and we'll see, you know, some of the results a little better, more than a 0 result coming off of it. No? Yeah, sorry, over here. Hola, I found the research phase. It's way up here. I was expecting it to be down in the unit construction phase. So, both sides have to do theirs. The Axis doesn't really have to trigger their research in the first turn because they just have the naval research. But the Allies do have to trigger theirs to begin with, so we'll go to that. This is going to be general research. I have 2 points, so I roll a die and add 2. On a 6, I get a breakthrough, and that'll be a permanent +1 from then on any others. And I get close, I get a +6, which means this is now gone, and I have a +6 to my next roll. That means I still need to put a point into Naval next year to trigger that and get that there. One of the questions I may have to have is, do I want to roll on the DRM table with a -2, and no radar research, and a +1? I could get some additional bonuses off that on my next die roll. On the other hand, that extra point is a bonus. I'd have to roll a net of, what, 4 or higher? Because I won't be doing this now, but on the next turn I might. Anyway, that's just what's happening there. For production, as far as I can tell, this German sub is just produced. I already threw it in there. And there's really nothing else to do, except that I had to fill out the Battle of the North Atlantic sheet, and I totaled the amount of damage. I did 5. The surviving Atlantic transports is 15 here. That means there's going to be 10 BRP lost because we take 25 minus the surviving. There have to be at least 25 for that to survive. And then the lost shipping, the 5 lost shipping is multiplied by 3. That's 15 points in transport loss BRPs. If there were other things, an oil shortage would happen if I had less than 12 surviving transports, and I'd get points for that, depending on how badly I hit their oil. Plus any ships I sunk, damaged, and if they choose to accelerate their production. Now, what's going on here? So somewhere I have my German production, and I have to see how that works, because these ships advance on, and I could accelerate them. If I do that, I'll be paying here. I also have to check the subs and make sure that they do launch right away when I produce them. I think that's the case, but I'm not positive. And this is apparently just my force pool, so these guys are going to show up and I'll be allowed to build them, but I don't think it costs me anything to build them in terms of victory points unless I accelerate them if they're ships that can be accelerated. I'm not sure if transports just launch immediately, and the same thing with subs. So I'll have to go look those aspects up. But once I do that, we're through the first turn of this. We're not going to finish this thing, so I'm just going to keep running the video. I don't think this is a terribly interesting scenario, but I want to get used to the parts of the turn that are conducted here, as opposed to, because they're really not going to show up in any of the other introductory scenarios. Of course, I don't think there's anything that's going to handle the diplomacy side of the game, and there may be a few other, the more generalized research thinking, but we're getting to see some of the ideas behind the research in play. And I think that's helpful. I just don't think playing this out, even though I say it's about an hour, it probably actually isn't. There's a lot of turns here, and I just don't have the heart to do them all. According to this chart, Germans have 2 shipbuilding capacity. That means they're allowed to have, according to this, 2 ships in their shipyard capacity, and that includes cruisers and heavy named ships, and they have 3. I don't know what's up with that. Is it per month of it or what? Submarines, ASW, and transports don't count, so that indeed just goes right there. But I don't know what happens with these ships being constructed in terms of, I have a certain shipbuilding rate, which is the number of points which I can expend in that port in a single turn. Oh, shipyard capacity may be something different. Okay. So my rate of 2 means I can have 4 ships being constructed. That's what is going on there. So yes. Now, Continuing construction. See, I think that these are based on the date, so in fall I think I can put this into the launch box, but I'm not positive of that. But I was getting confused by that shipyard rate, etc., to see what actually is getting built. I have a couple of options, it turns out. This thing can move to the launch box, or I can move it twice. But the second time I move it, I'm going to be taking a penalty because of something accelerated BRPs. So I have to pay additional BRPs that aren't accounted for by the game as being the expected value. I don't see much point to that because I'm not allowed to raid for quite some time, although getting this moving now would be helpful because I don't have any more ships in my production queue yet. I have to get some force pool, I think. Maybe I'm mistaken about that. Maybe I can just launch ships without force pool growth. Yeah, I'm not sure about that, so I'll have to look that sucker up too. And I'm getting pretty fatigued looking up rules again. You know, I mean, I spend 5 minutes chatting and looking up some rules, and I just want to walk away from the game because there's no context that's really interesting in this. I probably would do the same walk away in the midst of the big game, but I'm drawn back a little bit easier. This is not the way I like to learn, but you know, they provided it and I figured, well, it'll prepare me better so that I curse less during the main thing. So this is, you know, kind of for the diehards who just love to hear me miserable during a video. That's what these exploration videos really are. And then one thing that's kind of weird here, launching ships, when ships are in the launch row, which is where this would be going, when they're moved to the launch row from the 2 row, they're immediately placed on the board inverted. Now, if I was accelerating, what would happen is I'd not only move it down, but I'd move it to the left one box, which means it's actually, it's not like I get a double build on it. I just get to shorten to the turn in which I next get to pay to build on it. And there's a penalty to doing that. Obviously, though, ships that are on the launch row, I'll be put on the board immediately, inverted, which means I can uninvert them. That doesn't mean much because I'm not going to be allowed to raid next time. I still haven't figured out what's up with these, whether they're coming back. But, you know, I'm getting within sight. God, I want to end this thing. I think I've seen enough, but I want to do at least one more turn, I guess. Just to, certainly the allied turn. Now, okay, destroyers are launched immediately, according to this, without further expenditure. But naval units which are already on the launch row as a result of construction or repair paid for in previous turns are similarly placed on the board. Now, repair, this is what really confuses me. Under repair, so I just moved down to this launch and boom, I'm out. Okay, great. On the other hand, the damn repairs thing, which is somewhere, initiating repair, during a unit, okay, so first there's a 1-turn delay. I won't be able to repair a ship on the turn in which it's damaged, fine. But then initiating repair, I can spend a shipbuilding point and some points, put it from the waiting to repair into a space which reflects the time required to effect the repairs. For example, if the unit construction phase of a spring turn, a damaged named ship would be placed in the launch row of the fall column. I'm not sure why. Cruisers, maybe it tells me somewhere how long it takes for a repair to take place. But that does make some sense. I'll be pushing that out a little bit more. It won't be just automatically launching. But where I see the length of time required for a repair, I'm not sure. Except that this says it takes 2 turns to repair. I don't know where it's going to tell me that elsewhere. It doesn't seem to be in this section of the rules. but maybe it's under the status of ships under repair. I don't see anything there. I don't see anything about time required to repair. Maybe that's listed somewhere. One would assume so. But in a book that, prides itself in repeating the same things, you'd think these things would be where you'd look, or at least a reference to where you should look for it. And I do not see it. Of course, with all that verbiage in these books, sometimes it's hard to even find what you're looking for, even when it is there. But I really don't see this in this one. So, yeah, we're going to be spending a little bit more time trying to figure out what happens with repaired ships, but maybe I don't really give a shit right now. So, we'll go over to, I guess, the Allied turn here. The Allies don't have much to do. I don't see any reason why they'd be in port. So let's just sail their fleet out. Now, these CVLs presumably have planes on board them. I don't think those planes can be damaged, so I don't know. I got to figure out those fuckers. So indeed, I can pull these guys out of here and SR them into the port box, and I can also SR the sub here. And because this scenario doesn't allow interceptions, they all get in there for free. I can't continue filling out the Allied side of this because, hey, they might advance a ship speed-wise. I don't know if that's the case, but, I don't know if they actually will. But now we go to the Allied side of the turn. There's really not a whole hell of a lot for them to do. Remember, the research actually happens... Here's my sequence of play. Up at the top of the game turn, so I'm not going to be able, I thought that happened during production, actually. So, since I can't intercept or anything, I don't see any reason why I don't just send my fleet out, and I can't do any attacks on the subs. Those are initiated by the subs. So these guys are all out here hunting the raiders if they come out. Now the raiders aren't allowed to come out, but they don't serve any other purpose in this game other than to hunt raiders. They can take losses, I think, from subs. For example, the destroyers, I think, are allowed to take losses from the subs. So that's about it other than production. There's not a whole hell of a lot for production. I have some more transports I can build. Another ASW I can build. And then the US can build this, but it just goes under the US pile for whatever that's worth. Over here, I'm in the fall turn. So long as I don't want to increase things, these actually show up here. Now, I could move these in here, I think, using normal naval movement. I'm not sure. But no matter what, they can all SR into there. So now there's a huge fleet in there that can absorb some of the losses. I'm not quite sure of the rules for absorbing losses, destroyers versus transports from the subs. I'll have to find that. But that looks like... Did I move? Yeah, I moved the Duke of York. Now, I could have accelerated the Duke of York, but I just don't see much point to it. The fleet that I have out there is quite potent. There may be some factor with those CVLs. I know CVEs can help in the anti-sub warfare. There may be some effect for the CVLs as well. So that's going to push us down to winter, I guess. Given that, we discard these and we'll start another turn where Ultra and Magic have a specific space where we hit the research phase, and the Axis are going to make their general research roll at +2. Let's see what that brings. Hey, they got a breakthrough. So I don't know quite how to mark that. I'm just going to put a B here. And that'll indicate that, I've got a +1 on all other research for the Axis. I didn't get to that kind of result for the Allies. I got the DRM result, though, which will be over here. I'm at -2. +1 is -1. So I'm not guaranteed a success off of this. I may not want to expend this research point. There's certain research points that disappear at the end of a turn. I don't remember which ones, but I'm pretty sure the DRM isn't that one, or isn't one of those. So my roll would be at -1 net, which means I need a 4 to carry that +1 over. That seems like too much of a risk, so I'm not gonna make a research roll there. So then we shuffle these and deal them out again. And we're beginning to get the flow of this, and you can see, it's pretty quick. Once you get that, there's the die roll for this, etc. Because there's not much going on here. Incorporated in the rest of the turn, it would still be a minor little part that you're handling of a real turn. Each part of each step in this situation is a pretty minor part, or maybe included in other parts. So, for example, this is part of the production for the turn. One thing I have to say is shuffling a small deck of cards like this is a hell of a lot less random than shaking up some chits in a cup for me. I almost feel like I ought to roll a die for each card or something like that. I really feel uncomfortable shuffling such a small deck. I feel like, even if I'm not, certainly I could keep track of which card, of a specific card, and keep it in a certain location or something like that. But even if I'm not doing that, I don't know that I'm not aware of what I'm getting when I shuffle, because I know that I could be if I made an effort to do so. So even if I'm not making an effort, I may be essentially making such a failure to randomize. I think I would have preferred the chits for this sucker. Okay, so now on the second turn, there's really nothing I can do with the Axis Naval Forces. I flipped these guys over. I can do a sub-attack again, and I might as well. Any subs I lose, I can rebuild, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I think I need sub results to build more. Let's check that. The submarine table. Is that a force pool? Indeed it is. So each RP I allocate is going to give me production of another sub. And then the advanced submarine gives me the roll on here to get better subs. Now, ASW looks like they have to roll on a table to gain these. No, that looks like that's success on ASW. So maybe they have a different kind of roll. See, it doesn't look like I'm getting production off the ASW thing. Is there a general production project roll? I don't know. I guess I'll have to look that one up, because it looks like it's handled differently from subs, but who knows. So over here there's an explanation of production costs. I haven't been able to find something that actually tells. They increase other results without a need for a die roll. So apparently there's somewhere where it's going to tell me what the production cost is. There's limits by year. Revealing results. There's forceful increases, I guess. But under here, there seems to be some sort of ASW result value. So the subs, they more or less repeat what's in the research book, but here they say each result allows to add, which is also repeated from there. But somewhere or another, maybe there's a chart that tells me how much each ASW research result costs. I'll look through the charts, I'll look through the books, and maybe I'll find it. Maybe I won't. Who the hell knows? Strangely enough, or maybe not strangely, building new, I don't know about, I haven't found what I'm looking for, but building new transports and ASWs costs shipbuilding capability. Now, somewhere on one of these stupid charts, or in the victory, or in the scenario, they talk about what's available coming in. Oh, I got withdrawals also. God. Oh, I don't remember where it is. God. This scenario is worse than the main game, I think. One additional ASW and 5 transports may be built in fall of 39. Well, I built those, but I don't know if I was allowed to. Because here in the fall, I built a CA and this. That's 2 of my shipbuilding points. I don't know how many I have. It's not listed on that sheet. That's the Grand Campaign. It may be over on this one. No, it looks like this also gives the Grand Campaign rate and capacity here. So we have to look at try to find where the shipbuilding rate was. I saw that before. But this is just, this whole game is this way, you know? It's like little glued together pieces of shit rolls that, I don't remember A3R being this bad, even with the, well, it didn't have this stupid shipbuilding module on it. So, what am I even looking for? Oh, the shipbuilding rate to start with. Maybe that's listed over here. Maybe it's listed over here. I think it is. So I've got 2, 3, 2 stars. So I've got 2 shipbuilding points per year in addition to the shipbuilding points immediately added to the U.S. I don't know if that told me. I thought they had like 6 shipbuilding points in this one to begin with. Somewhere I remember hearing something like that. But I have to clear these before I can build those others. So if I only have 2, I don't get anything. But I seem to remember there being 6, which won't give me everything anyway. Yeah, I don't know. I got no fucking clue about this crap. We'll just keep looking and looking through here to try to see if there's anything listed. And I keep seeing... Alright, well, let's look at the shipbuilding research result, if we can find that roll. Or that book. It's kicking around here somewhere. Is that under here? Yeah, this is the other part of the game, is searching for the proper stuff, cards, whatever, that have it. I can't find that now, so I'll leave you alone for a while. So here's this, 2, 3, 4, 5 for each shipbuilding increase to a maximum increase of 4 per year at a rate of an increase of 1 per turn. Oh, I don't know. What the hell is that supposed to mean? I have no fucking clue. Alright, so that didn't help. That's not even... I can't even parse these rules. And that's often the case with this book. Quite often things are written in some cryptic sort of way. Kind of reminds me of the old TSR D&D 3 little booklets with things like percent liar. You know, I don't think these are typos, but they're certainly, you know, somewhat incomprehensible. Which goes with Gathering Storm too. You know, Bruce Harper doesn't seem capable of expressing things in a way that I can grasp. He's been the lead designer of this stuff. Now, I remember sussing shit out in Third Reich and Rising Sun, but you know, it's been a longer time now since it was when I tried to figure those out from the last time I played a Third Reich derived game. And, you know, I mean, I've got the history of playing these suckers, and I still can't figure out what the fuck he's talking about. The problem with that is, the game's gotten kind of so far away in some ways with these charts and everything, all the research rules, that things aren't immediately graspable. The old Third Reich, you know, you could pretty much guess what the intention of some of the stuff was. Now, Gathering Storm is much, much worse because it's essentially a super complex Euro-style game in terms of you're going for a point salad or something that is written in the same style, completely opaque. You know, wow. I think I kind of managed to figure out once I got to the back of the rule book what the hell the game was about, but yeah, some of these subsystems I can't tell what the hell is intended and what's not. You gotta find the specific controlling little line in the rule book wherever that is, and maybe it's there, maybe it's not. I know that there was some number other than what I see here. I remember a 6 being somewhere, but I got no idea. I think I found it. I don't think this is explained in the rules, but I'm at this 3 level here. That's a rate of 3, and I've got 6 capacity. So I can hold 6 ships on my thing, but I can only build 3 per turn, I think. I'm not positive. Let me see. Shit. Okay, I need to look in the fucking rule book again, because that's all there is to it to make sure that my assumptions are correct. Okay, so I think this is the case. What's not explained is what where rate comes in. So, for example, here we have the shipbuilding 2, 3, 4, 5 for each shipbuilding increase to a maximum increase. Yeah, it doesn't talk about rate anywhere in here. The word rate is at the rate of 1 increase per turn. Now, I'm not sure that's possible because when you spend RPs, they're triggered all at once. So, you know, I mean, would that mean that I'm triggering them for each turn to upgrade it 1 point at a time? That's not normal for that, but God, it means looking in the fucking rule book again to try to figure out what the hell that is going into. Again, you know, there's no overriding, you know, no overriding rule that runs through all of this, but there's also no overriding way of describing. There's no description of an overriding understanding of what any given rule is meant to mean. So this is just a fucking nightmare. Same goddamn obtuse writing is exactly what's presented here. These are exact reproductions of each other. So, you know, I mean, it's like I can't make hide nor tail out of what's up with that. Trying to see number of increments to production which may be struck. It's limited according to the year. See, the actual triggering of RPs, it's 1 per category, one project per category, one category per turn, but these have no die rolls, so I don't know if that matters, like if I can trigger these without die rolls. Again, I'm pretty sure this shit isn't actually discussed in here. Yeah, you're only allowed to select one research category from each. Nothing, there's the die rolls then being discussed, but it sounds like, I would have to select shipbuilding 4 times with a point each. Although I'm not sure if it's a point each, and I'm not sure if the ASW production's a point each, or if it's some other amount. These rules used to make sense to me. Let me fucking look at the Rising Sun research rules and see if they make a lot more sense. These rules, force pull just kind of comes to you, except for some special cases like rockets or, jets or something like that, where you roll a die and you eventually get your maximum number from that. So no, that's not going to help. Submarines, I think you just get them added. There's forces you get added. I seem to remember subs and such not, you could just buy as many as you liked. You had an SW limit that you could spend. You had a limit to how much you could spend on SW each turn. But you didn't have to research your force pool for things in that game. And the force pool research rules, they're new and don't seem to make half an ass of sense. Okay, a more careful reading. I think I figured it out. Production doesn't. Research points put into production don't count like normal research points. They're triggered. If I had my sequence of play, I could check here, but it's hidden under one of these piles. They're triggered at some other point during the player turn, not in the research phase. I wish I could get to it, but I can't. Too much crap here. Okay. The numbers listed here, this is the cost of the first ASW, second, third, fourth. So we've actually done 4 ASW production rather than the 5 that this looks like it is. Transport, we've done 1. But each one costs 1. I think, or maybe this is just the cost and we haven't reached those yet. Maybe that's what it's meaning to say. Because if I look here, shipbuilding, it says 2, 3, 4, 5, but here it only says 2, 3. Now there's 2 stars. They can only do 1 per year. There's only 2 shipyards, I guess, in Britain. Or something like that, maybe. And that's why there's only 2 numbers there. Because if we look at these, it's for each shipbuilding increase assigned to a specific shipyard. Once per year. So that's why the Brits can only raise theirs 2, I guess. So that's what these are. These numbers here under code, which of course is supposed to be the code name, not that, is the cost of those research projects for each step of them, rather than how many levels I've actually gotten. So these, I guess, have already been paid for since I'm allowed to produce them. So what does that mean about production, about anything else? I don't remember. I have no idea where I was. I've spent a significant amount of time trying to figure out these production rules. They're so, well, like everything else in this rule book, it's so sparsely explained and so obtuse that I can get it. But here it actually does explain it. It's under production costs, which I would think would be about production, but no, it's this production research thing rather than the actual production. Actual production is something else. Construction of units or whatever. I don't know where I was though. I was producing British units. Okay. So what is my shipbuilding capability? Well, I have no idea. I really have no idea. I thought this number told me how much shipbuilding level I had, which is where I got the 3.6. I honestly don't know what I have. Maybe it's related to this gray box here. Maybe I have 4.8 instead. Maybe it's something else. So we'll go look to see if we can find that out at some point. I feel like we're close to the answer of most of these questions. I think that the shipbuilding is related to this the gray scale here. Now, does that mean it's 4.8 or 5.10? I don't know. I really don't know. And I have not been able to find that. I can't find any kind of setup in the scenario. I can't find it in the global war scenario. Although, again, you know, I mean, I skim things looking for where the hell these things may be. So, for example, here in Britain, I have transport. I have all this other crap here. But I don't see any additional information on the shipbuilding when I look through it. I have specific stuff to just the European or Pacific scenarios, but they don't really talk about what the value is there. The one place where they talk about the chart, I've looked at again and again, this particular chart, I've looked at again and again. My feeling is gray usually means no, you don't have this in the game. So I'm guessing that, and I'm absolutely guessing, that the British shipbuilding is 5 and 10. I'm probably dripping. That the Canadian shipbuilding is 2 and 4. And that the Australian then is non-existent because those are grayed out. Okay, so given that, I think we're assuming that the shipbuilding is the last gray box. But I can't say there's nothing in the rules that says it. You know, there may be something squirreled away somewhere. It was a hell of a time finding this other thing, but common sense dictates that the gray has to be the indication. Now, of course, here, the Naval Construction Britain, yeah, it actually doesn't quite match the 39 campaign game. It's 5 and 10. Now, what that may mean is we're combining Canada and Britain on this one sheet here to combine both, or something like that. That may be the implication there, and that would make sense too. So, what I'm guessing is I have both of these, and I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. The cruiser, I guess they didn't count. There's some chart or another I was looking at that's made it sound like Naval Repair and Construction, CA. They take no shipbuilding to if they're damaged. Wait, this was under construction. So I guess, wait, CAs take 2 construction points, and the battleship takes another 4. So that's 6 of my construction points. I've got 10. All right. Oh, wait, no, that's rate. I don't remember. Okay, my rate's only 5, so I couldn't produce all that. I mean, I'm just guessing, and the numbers aren't working, right? And of all things, these numbers, these don't seem even possible. I guess I can keep my cruiser on here. Who needs this cruiser, right? Okay, so we keep these here. So that's, I don't know if that counts as 6 points against capacity. That's something I gotta look up. That is actually clearly explained, but If I advance these, I believe they're going to cost me $6 of shipbuilding rate. Although maybe not. But the fact that the new construction of a cruiser costs 2 and a 4-factor ship costs 4, maybe. And then these suckers, the transports say they take a shipbuilding point and the ASWs take a shipbuilding point, which means I'm not going to be able to build all of this no matter what. And the question then becomes, well, can I do anything with these? These eat up 10 capacity. I have 10 capacity, so I only have 4 more capacity. But I don't think they count. I don't think capacity counts for anything but maybe named ships or something along those lines. I remember reading something like that. So we'll go back to that roll and try to read that. And yeah, I'm beginning to look at this as just a hopeless task. This should not be a significantly more complicated game than World in Flames. But I had my struggles with World in Flames, but they were mainly remembering things. Here, I can't parse what the rules are trying to say half the time. So like I said, this part is actually pretty clear. Shipyard capacity is the number of destroyers, CVEs, cruisers, and named ships which may be undergoing repair or construction. So that it's just a number of ships. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 there. And my capacity is 10, so I could have up to 3 more ships on that chart. But my transports, ASWs, and such don't count against capacity at all. Shipbuilding levels are, the rate is the actual number of ship points I have, so that's going to be 5. So I'm allowed to build 5 of these ships. Now, I would like to be getting this up to 25, but that's not going to happen. So I'm going to build an ASW. That's one of my shipbuilding points. I'm going to build 4 of these suckers. So there's one of these over here somewhere, and these others are in here up to 19. Now, and I can put this over in my allowable builds box, right? Okay. Now, shipbuilding rate doesn't really say. Somewhere there's initiating construction. Somewhere. Beginning new construction. A major power must spend 1 shipbuilding point and 3 BRPs to begin construction on a ship, regardless of size or type. Okay, but over here it says new construction is going to cost SB equal to more than that. Okay, that's interesting. And then continuing construction costs 1 shipbuilding point and 3 BRPs. So this may be some kind of accumulated shipbuilding point. Why it's in here, I don't know. So I could have built that cruiser, but in doing so I'd have to forego building one of my ships. I don't really want to do that. I want to keep my transports up there. I've got a huge fleet out here. My cruiser's not doing me any good. Of course, this is going to keep me from building new construction, but, I got to win that war of the Atlantic. And now, let's flip back to the winter turn, because we were back on the British construction for the fall turn. Now, we've already started some of this. We did the research and we dealt out the cards, and now the Germans get to do their sub-attacks, and I get to get rid of this rule book again because it just eats up my table and causes nothing but problems. So I guess we're on the strategic warfare table again. I don't think there's anything we're doing. I can't remember enough of the game. So none of this crap applies, right? And in the Atlantic, no CVEs yet. +2 for French. And I can look for cards. I'm looking for sub versus ASW. Brits have an ASW. Germans have a sub. They drew a bunch of blanks. So that evens out. And I think I was at +2. Which means I roll here. I've got 2 strategic warfare factors. +2 puts me to 4. I do nothing. I've got -2 for the Brits. And this just reverses. And they only have 2 ships. And they roll a 6, which means 0-1. Okay, now we got to go back to the rule book because this isn't spelled out here, right? What the results are, unfortunately. So the rule book tells me what those results mean. I think it's a damaged sub, but I don't know. Damage may not make sense for subs. That's listed as the number of subs which fail to reach the defender's convoys and which therefore do not affect additional damage, which is 24.64B. One additional transport is sunk for each submarine not affected by the defender's strategic warfare. Well, one should have been sunk last time then. These are unaffected by the defender's strategic warfare combat result. A plus modifier for submarines always sinks additional transports. Losses from the attacker's favor. What? One additional transport for each SW net combat modifier favor. Okay, so we screwed up last time. There should have been 3 more transports sunk. I'm going to charge them to them and figure that out. 2 because of the +2 strategic warfare modifier, and 1 because of the sub that was not affected by the losses. Remember, the subs didn't actually do anything. It was just the raiders that did. And now this time, we're going to do 3 more. 2, again, for the strategic warfare modifier, and 1 more for the U-boat. So I'm going to be back 6, but I'm going to push some of these back here. Not that that really matters. And figure out what the chart should look like. Something that seemed to make sense. SW loss from BRP is 25 minus C. Okay. Well, now that this is at 8, and I should have a 3 down here, but we'll get to that in a moment. Now that this is at 8, we ended up with 20 minus 8 is 12. Now 20 minus 5 was 15. So this number has gone down. We have less ships in the strategic warfare box. But now SW loss, BRP is 25 minus C. Okay, well, 15, 25 minus 15 was 10. 25 minus 12 is 13. There's more losses. That makes sense. I'm sorry, this game is just got me so damn frustrated that even math isn't making sense. Okay, now this is just the Raider BRPs multiplied for some reason. Now oil short losses, well, I only have 12 now, so that means actually I take an oil shortage now. And now we add these up, which is 18, I don't know, 20, 33 here. Now, I think we start with a new set here, which is 15, 18, 19 of these, except I didn't remove the counters from here. So 6 of these, no, 3 of these counters are not there. They were lost last turn that I didn't account for. Okay, so now we're on this new set, and that number should start at 16. We had no raiders, and 3 more ships lost. 6 minus 3 is 3. What's surviving? It looks like it's 13 this time. 25 minus 13 is only 12 hits. None here, because that's only... A is the number of no, A is transports sunk. No, I got these numbers wrong. Hold on. All these transports were sunk. Let's go back. Got this stupid value for transports damaged, which I have no idea how that can happen. I've seen no results that do that. I'm assuming that there must be something, and I'm probably just missing it. But for now, hey, screw it, man. Okay, so we've reworked this, and the Germans made 42 points in the first turn. Second turn, they're up to a total of 63 after 21 more points. There's really nothing I can see the Allied turn doing. Well, the German turn, we gotta build ships. Now, it looks like I've already slid these down for their production for winter. Allied turn, they're gonna get their winter production too. I'm allowed, what is it, 5 shipbuilding points. Well, I think the most important thing for me to build is more transports at this point. So I'm not going to continue production on the King George V. That's going to be held up as I keep pushing transports because I'm just running too close to the edge. That's going to push us up to spring of 40. Now I know in 1940 the scenario had some crap happening in it. So I'm going to have to try to figure out some way of notating that. Now, this video has gone so long, but I don't know how much more of this I want to do. I'm going to load this one up. Screw it, I may not end up loading up any more. I'm going to be playing through a little bit more. I would like to show the research point selection, although in a sense I already did that over here. So over here what we're going to see is in 1940 the Western Allies are going to have 3 research points, no more than 3 in any one thing, I think is what the parentheses meant. Yeah, so I have to choose between pure naval, the nationality DRM, the ASW technology, and shipbuilding. I can't add to my total ASW, I can't add to my total transports yet. So I'm still dealing with a pretty limited force pool, but, and I think if I got it all out, it's only 20 points of shipping. Isn't that what I started with? That's what I started with. How is this possible? Didn't I get like 5 new transports somewhere? I don't know where the hell those went. But yeah, I think I had additional transports coming in somewhere. Shit. I'm just hating this crap. I don't remember where the reinforcements were listed for this scenario. Over here we got, Asia, whatever, this is the wrong game. Yeah, I was supposed to have an additional ASW and 5 additional transports, and I know I slapped them down somewhere, but I don't know what happened to them. Maybe those transports got absorbed somehow. Or maybe they're in here somewhere. I don't know, because I started with 20. I took losses. Maybe my losses got thrown out because I should have five more here somewhere. So yeah, so I can get up to, you know, a total of 25 transports maximum. And if I don't take any loss, that actually is exactly what I need to cover the shipping that I need here. So that's what I'm going to assume. There may be a counter that that flipped and ended up somewhere stupid. We don't know that. The British turn, again, nothing really happened there. So I'm going to load this mess up, and we'll be doing another video of this, and because I can't face trying to do the naval rules, the full naval rules, right now. Maybe after I play some more of this, I'll be able to. It's got nothing to do with what I'm doing here, but it's got to do with I'm not going to be able to prepare for them for tomorrow morning so that I can, you know, go over what they're like. So let's load this up and we'll be playing some more of this crap.